Um, First of all, there was many different concepts that he had included, such as locomotion, field, existence, life space, all these different concepts that played into his analysis. There was one that I found very interesting, just because I had a pretty decent understanding. It was field theory and learning. Um, they included an example of this, and it is when a teacher should understand the situation in the classroom. So, as far as adolescence, there's many different situations that happen within a classroom. As children can fight, argue, are very, very sensitive. They can take toys away from each other, things like that. And it's really up to the teacher to understand the situation, on how to handle that and how to comfort and how to de-escalate the situation. It also included how teachers need to have a specific strategy on how to teach, because you know um, their way of learning isn't everybody's way of learning. Some people learn better with examples, some people learn better with hands-on work, some people learn better with um, reading or studying. Everyone has their different way of learning, but it's really up to the teacher to provide preparedness in their lecture that can encourage and motivate and enthuse the audience, basically. Um, and field theory and field theory helps analyze these concepts. Lewin, he distinguished two types of learning that can help in the classroom, and he mentioned an example as far as reconstructing that. He wants everyone to achieve their goal and demonstrate repetition and repetitive learning learning skills and processes. Um, he also supported the Children's Center of Education because he wants everyone to succeed. And he also mentions fear of punishment or relentless repetition can create the opposite reaction. Students begin to dislike their education. So in that case, he is saying that it is important for all teachers to have some type of emphasized way to compel the child in order to stimulate them to be motivated to go to school, motivated to learn, motivated to do their homework, and to actually retain a balance and retain the memory. He also said that learning depends on the student's mood, and that based on the student's views in the future and the past. So, for example, I had a personal experience with that. I did have a really hard semester my freshman year. I had really terrible grades, so it was really hard for me to be motivated. And the instructor just was very focused on their old school teaching style. I did not accustomed to that. I was not motivated. And I got in a really bad habit of just accepting the bad grades and accepting failing. I got into a really bad habit of that. Um, Sorry. But it is important for the teachers to understand the student and understand their needs. Every time after class, I go up to the teacher and tell them like I need help and I don't understand, and she would just kind of brush it off and tell me you need to go to tutoring, you need to talk to the SI. Like she wasn't really focused on helping me. And in his perspective, he believes that teachers need to help their students to better understand um, and handle their difficult emotions and their conditions. Um, he also mentioned level of aspiration, and this is defined as the difficulty of the goal toward which a person is striving. So, in order for a person to become successful, they need to be deeply influenced. And this is his perspective, and he just wants everyone to succeed in the most positive way. But he knows that students can't do it by themselves. They need help from the teachers, and they need that type of aspiration and motivation. I also found the topic locomotion very interesting. Locomotion is defined as the directional movement that enables someone or something to move from the location to another. An example of this would be jumping or hopping. It could be galloping or marching or skipping. It's like a repetition of movement. Um, this refers to the position of different times and psychological phenomenon or behavior that can be presented in a specific locomotion. In his readings, I found that Japanese researchers study human locomotion found that people with symptoms of clinical depression move differently than people with depressive symptoms. So, with that being said, people with depressive disorder or depressive symptoms do specific things. Like when they're depressed, they can lock themselves in a dark room. They can isolate themselves from everybody. They can completely shut down. They cannot eat. They cannot sleep. Certain depressive symptoms like that. On the other hand, there's other people who are depressed, but they have a very good way of handling that. They have a locomotion where they can just go out and they can put on a fake smile and stuff like that, and they can just pretend like nothing is wrong, and they can honestly fool everybody. And I have personal examples of that because after my pregnancy, I was honestly going through postpartum depression. It's just something that some women go through after having a child. And that's something that I was going through, and no one really knows that. I just put on a smile and acting like I was super, super happy all of the time, and there was nothing that was wrong with me. You know what I mean? But I handled my depression in a different way. But when I was alone, it was a whole different story. People don't know that I cried myself to sleep. People don't know the way that I handled my depression. I'm doing a lot better now. But then, it really helped. It really messed with my mental health. It really did. Let's see. The last example that he used in his analysis, what I found interesting, was life space. This is the totality of facts that determine the behavior of a person or a group. It consists of regions of such as objects, including a person's goals, and other factors that influence others' behavior. So, let's see. This also fell in the category that was listed, which was valence. Valence is the property of an object in a region and a life space according to which the object is sought and avoided. Positive valences initiate approach. Negative valences produce retreat or withdrawal. Tension is an empirical syndrome indicating a need, which is a goal achieved where tension is 0. So I found this very interesting because life space determines the behavior of a person or a group. So basically, when you're attracted to a group, it's honestly because you guys have similarities. It could be in behavior or interest. It could be due to music. It could be due to music or hobbies, basketball, football. It could be to the type of music you listen to. A lot of times it can do habits like hiking or biking or scootering or walking or jogging or anything like that. Video games even, in life space, it determines your behavior. So if there's a negative attribute like, smoking weed or doing drugs, it's most likely that your life space is going to be a negative, and it can get in the way of your goals and can get in the way of your behavior. This is based on the behavior that you have. For example, if your group does video games, that can create unhealthy habits such as staying indoors, staring at a screen all day. You don't get the exercise, you don't get the proper food, you don't exercise your mind, you don't exercise in order to have a healthy lifestyle. There's certain things like that can get in the way of goals. It could be a distraction. Video games could distract you from doing homework and distract you from your real life goals. But I think all of these tie in together psychologically. They're all formulated to describe the brain function and how people can handle different situations, as well as how it can affect your motivation, and in your goals. All of these play into, I think, an overall outcome of your goals. You guys can have a goal and expectations, but, there's certain distractions and things that can enable you. There's things that can prevent you from conquering your goals, as well as motivate you to conquer your goals. And I think that Lewins, is just a really thinks of the outermost outcome. Like, he is focused on the outermost outcome in the most positive way, but he knows that there's stumps and there's speed bumps in order that can prevent you from succeeding those. And he seems to look at everything from everyone's perspective, like the student's perspective and the teacher's perspective, as well as the environment. Like, he sees everything from each direction, and that's why I really enjoyed writing this and reading about him, because he was really enthusiastic to me, because a lot of people don't see things from other people's perspective. It's mostly my way or the highway, But he understands. He tries to understand everybody, and he tries to find a most positive outcome. Like in all of his examples, there was nothing but positivity and nothing about and always about solutions. It always has really positive solutions, and he always is motivating you to succeed your goals.